Right, so here's part two, guys, talking about our awesome periodization profile. So again, we're looking at novice, intermediate, and advanced, okay? So periodization profiles, novice or traditional model, Mataveo of 1964, Tudor Bampa, as I mentioned, 1983, and Bampa and half in 2009. Intermediate, non-traditional model. So traditional model is linear periodization. Non-traditional would be undulating or non-linear periodization. Advanced would be a conjugate sequence model, which Verkhoshansky and Mel Sif brought about. Banderchuk in 2007 and Isserin in 2008. Intermediate, we're looking at Charles Poliquin, Chicago kind of guy, Baker, and Megan Mike Stone. So all these guys in here, all these strength coaches, have really used these different models in creating phenomenal periodization, our ability to understand who should be and when should be lifting and how. So novice or traditional model, classically known as linear periodization, wave-like changes in volume and intensity over a period of time based on competition schedules versus adaptation recovery model. 1, 2, or 3 peak models. Concurrent development of technical and cardiorespiratory and strength qualities. We look at 4 major things here. We look at GPP, SPP, competition phase, and transition phase. Also known in competition as is peak, and transition would be off phases. Looking at the traditional periodization model, we start with high volume. Volume will decrease, intensity will increase. The ability to do or perform specialized movements increases over time as well. So the big thing here we're looking at is if we're GPP and we're using a high rep range, that volume is really high, then intensity is really low, somewhere between 40 and 60% when we're talking about muscular endurance. And there it is on the bottom. So general PPP, again, we're low with our intensity, low with our technique, high with our volume. Over the period of time, when we get to that transition phase, we want to peak right about here, right? Because that's the end of our competition phase when we should be at our best and best shape ever. And that is where we want to excel. Example, playoffs. For these people, it might be per their goal, okay, for our clientele. We're looking at intensity again, hypertrophy, more aerobic based, anaerobic for maximal strength. Explosive strength would be alactic, and specific endurance would be maximal power, and then peaking phase. Sequential flat loading, so progressive overload with standardized percentage or intensity basis. All right, again, intensity is just straight from the bottom left to the top right. So a couple things I've researched. These are great things. I've put some of these in our Con Ed thing, I believe. So I won't go over these crazy, but one of the big ones is Daniel Baker, who was mentioned up in our periodization for intermediates. This was with people over 6 months of weightlifting experience, 12-week, non-periodization, linear periodization, undulating. When volume is equated, there is no difference in strength improvement across periodization, non-periodization programs. So the volume has to represent the intensity, right? We cannot have tons and tons of volume at a high intensity. Technique will suffer, will get injured, okay? If we look here. If we had the same volume up here across the board all the way to this over here to high intensity, technique is going to be really high as well, but that's going to suffer. We're going to crash. Some other research that I like is this one's done by Hartman. This is with 40 men with weight training experience, 14 weeks linear periodization. Undulating and linear have similar increases, 1 rep max strength. So let's get down to the intermediate and non-traditional model, also known as undulating periodization. Many ways to do it. We could go by phase or mesocycle, by weekly or microcycles, and then by daily or workouts. So 3 variations of it. Training periods are characterized by extensive or intensive, right? Summated microcycles with heavy and light days. So here we go with extensive, okay? This will be general prep, endurance, hypertrophy, and metabolic. Intensive, maximal strength, maximal power, max strength endurance, max strength power. If you notice, within the first 11 months of that strength program I created, I had extensive and intensive applications to it. If you looked inside those Excel spreadsheets. A mix of both extensive and intensive themes should be incorporated across programming to elicit progressive training responses. Generally speaking, I would flip-flop between extensive and intensive based on my rep, and you'll notice a lot of what I've done in the strength program is directly proportional to this undulating non-traditional model. Here's your undulating model. So we look at volume. See how that volume kind of goes up and down based over the general prep, specialized prep, pre-comp, comp, and transition. Again, technique will dip as our volume dips and as our intensity dips, right? So look at the technique versus the intensity versus the volume. They all coincide with each other, so safety is a priority, but we're increasing our maximum strength, our power, our general prep, and everything all at once. Okay, so extensive, intensive, 1 and 1. There, extensive, intensive, excuse me, then extensive 2, intensive. See how it flip-flops? 3, 3, competition transfer phase, okay? Undulating summated microcycle. So this is an example of track. He goes hypertrophy, hypertrophy, unload. So he does this in a mesocycle, 3 weeks of hypertrophy loading. Here's his rep ranges, right? Week 1, 3 sets of 10 to 12. Week 2, 4 sets of 7 to 9 reps. If you look at the total volume, it's about the same, 30 reps in this phase right here to 28 reps right here, right? I don't know if I added that right. 36, 4, got 30, 40 or so, okay? So right in the same rep range. And that's over a period of time. Here's undulating, so this is where he's bouncing off of max strength. 4 sets of 4 to 6 reps, 5 sets of 3 to 4, bumping 6 to 2 by 3, and then 3 by 2 to 3. Okay, so these are all just different examples of how we do undulating summated microcycles. Here's an option, different options here, where you're looking at max power, max power, max power. So a little bit of different loading sequences, right? We're getting heavier over time. Option 2, fluctuate those cycles, okay? So that's where you get the undulating or waving. Here's a daily heavy light cycle. So this would be looking at a weekly microcycle. Max strength 1 day, max power, rest. Max strength 1 day, max power. Notice lower body to upper body to lower body. Significant rest, 7 days. There's another way of looking at it. Maximum strength, mixed, so that's upper body or total body. Maximum power, lower body, off day in between. Hypertrophy, so we're hitting a bunch of different waves of GPP, max power, max strength within 1 week. Okay, pretty impressive. Here we go with a big time undulating cycle. So max strength, hypertrophy, power, max strength, and kind of a strength end or a kind of a bonus end. And look at our percentages or our volume, okay? So our percentages are 85 to 95 up here, travel down, 75 to 85, 65 to 75, back up, we're peaking, 85 to 90, back down, 75 to 85. Nick Winklemans uses this model for his football players, okay? And he eventually takes out this last day 6. So here's 5 steps to increasing the effectiveness of your strength training program. So if you noticed in my strength training programs, I pretty much utilize much of this programming here. So weeks 1 through 4, extensive, reps 8 to 10, sets 3, max, 1 rep max, 75 to 85, lifts 24 to 30. And we go right across the board, okay? So we went extensive, intensive, extensive, intensive, extensive, okay? Let you guys take a nice little look at that. It's a great program. It worked really well. We got a lot of people strong. Here's a couple research things. Undulating training for development of hierarchy fitness and improved firefighter job performance. So conclusion, daily undulating periodization produces superior results in trained firefighters compared to linear approach. Again, these are with guys that have had heavy intensive training over a period of time, i.e. the Firefighter Academy, then 12 weeks of daily undulating periodization, okay, which looked like this. Okay. Looking at another type, the advanced approach, Yuri Verkhoshansky from Russia. That's my Russian accent in case you guys care. He originally coupled the successive system, also known as conjugate. Some big trainers out there right now. Joe DeFranco is a big conjugate guy. Westside Barbell uses a lot of conjugate. Elite FTS team uses a lot of conjugate. Juggernaut Training Systems, a lot of conjugate. So those are some people that do a lot of it. Block periodization, also known as well, accumulation blocks and restitution blocks. Accumulation, development of specific strength qualities with limited volume, load associated with concurrent development of supporting motor abilities. So, in other words, it is based on your abilities motorly or CNS-wise, where they limit the volume based on your strength qualities, okay? So we have to look at how they are neurologically speaking, so we don't overload them central nervous system-wise. Restitution blocks is development of specific technical motor abilities with limited volume load associated with concurrent development of supporting strength qualities. So then we look at our strength qualities, and how do we go ahead and improve those with specific technical motor abilities. Unidirectional, concentrated loading. So we want to saturate the system with one specific quality with limited concurrent development of other motor abilities that have a negative effect on performance. So you want to saturate the system with one quality, depending on whatever quality you want, strength, power, those. Isolated development of one strength quality can have a potentiation effect on the motor abilities developed in the next sequence of blocks through a concept of delayed transformation. An increased concentration of loading allows for heightened stress of specific systems, which is needed to create further adaptation in advanced individuals. So, easiest way to explain this right here is looking at this right here. We'll peak in the conjugated, this is a power sport, so think of a hammer thrower or a shot putter. Okay, kind of get you an idea. Explosive strength peaks, we cross that with speed. Maximum power increase, cross that with speed. Okay, so speed is our underlining quality. Our explosive and maximal power is our determining quality. So we look at accumulation 1, or also known as, right here, the accumulation block. Then we look at restitution 1, which again is utilizing those strength qualities that you gained in here, right, to improve the heightened, to improve, where are we at? To improve motor abilities, right? So we're looking at that speed, that central nervous system. Here's for an endurance sport. So we got max power, got to get them strong. Then all of a sudden we're working on aerobic, again, based off their strength. Max power endurance, based around that threshold of anaerobic power. Okay, so again, looking at this, accumulation 1, restitution, accumulation 2, restitution. So remember, utilizing restitution off their strengths that you have gained versus looking at the strengths that you already have and working on getting stronger so we can adapt to this. Okay, a couple different things here. We're looking at a study that had training elite junior skiers, a HIIT group, so high intensity training, 4x4 minute sessions over 11 days. Isolated periods of HIIT within a block periodization model may be more advantageous in improving our aerobic capacity, or VO2, values compared to a mixed approach in elite alpine trained skiers. Okay, so it's important. And here's a couple other ones. Let's see, performance changes in world kayakers, block periodization, traditional training theory review. This is a huge thing here of methodology of physiology of training periodization. It's very in-depth. This was Vladimir Isarin, again, one of the fathers of conjugate training, bringing it over to the States. You know, it just proves that high-level athletes need more, how would I say it, more trickery or more use of different training systems in order to elicit effects. So if I have a high-end level athlete, if I get a little bit of increase or performance over a period of time, that's really good because they're already at their peak level. So we need many more manipulative factors in order to gain a little bit of or an increase in performance. So we're looking at a long-term athletic development model, okay? We're looking at an athlete's performance training system. This is how it starts. Non-periodization or diverse skill in play. So this is just having fun. 0 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 11 years of age. Periodization starts at around 12 years old. Novice, intermediate, advanced, plus sport. Training to train, 12 to 16. Training to compete, 16 to 23. Training to win, 19 plus. Again, this is all dependent on that profile that you gain, training age, and a great needs analysis. So here's a couple of examples. This is what a long-term athletic development model is. This is what I've done for some of my athletes over a long period of time. For the strength program that I built over the last year, I had this as my end goal of what I wanted out of my clients. And that's the same thing we got to do for ours as we're switching up and moving forward. Pretty in depth, okay? Pretty cool. So here's a little bit of a conclusion. All right, as we finish up, optimize athletic performance or adult performance through the use of specific periodization models based on the profile that you gain from working with your clientele. Right now, we don't have a big evaluation system in place. We're really using our coach's eye or the quantitative prospects that we see when we're training people, okay? You know, it's very important as we move forward and we get into, this is the reference list in case you guys want it. As we go through our strength program and looking at different qualities and how can we improve this, again, we got to focus on energy systems, our end goal, our long-term athletic model, or long-term adult model that we want from our clientele. What is the end goal of the strength program? What energy systems do we want to use? What training considerations should we have? And finally, what kind of periodization model should we have? That all plays a role in eliciting the highest performance we possibly can, minimizing the effect of injury, thus creating a pathway to their goals. I hope you enjoy this. I hope this makes sense to you guys. Again, I think we're on the right track here, but I just wanted to go ahead and put this out there. I think it's a great overview of periodization models and kind of a scope into how I program and design my stuff and who I've utilized as my mentors and my and my go-to people. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you watching, and again, give me some feedback.